Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to witness some scenes from the next attraction to play this theater. This picture, truly one of the most unusual ever filmed, contains scenes which under no circumstances should be viewed by anyone with a heart condition or anyone who is easily upset. We urgently recommend that if you are such a person or the parent of a young or impressionable child now in attendance, that you and the child leave the auditorium for the next 90 seconds.
Tonight, on the Video Nasty Project, a dude gets his cock ripped off by Bigfoot.
Those horror stories you heard about in the forest, they're true. They're all true.
Officials found a camera with this film in it, but no trace of the people.
We believe that there is a creature living in these mountains. And possibly a close relative to man.
We're already in Bigfoot territory, where all those people were killed. Not far from here, a motorcyclist was found. There was no trace of the thing that killed him. Our Bigfoot's not playing games anymore. Maybe next time he won't be happy just to scare us.
And that was Night of the Demon. In the 70s, cryptozoology was fucking huge. Bigfoot was everywhere. Loch Ness Monster was everywhere. It was in like the $6 Million Man, The Legend of Boggy Creek. So this totally jumped on that. The movie, it starts out with a fisher in the woods. And all of a sudden Bigfoot shows up and just rips the fucker's arm off. Blood everywhere. It goes to Dr. Nugent. And he goes to his class and he says, hey, look, I've got all this evidence about Bigfoot is real. The police have been covering it up, and he shows the headlines, including
lettuce.
Including fucking lettuce.
We had to stop and rewind this to replay it a few times because we were like, what the hell? What is with this lettuce?
Yeah, you've got one headline that says U.S. population reaches 25 million or whatever. And you've got, town vote has been scheduled for this date. And then you've got Bigfoot, murders fishermen. And then lettuce.
A freaking column about lettuce. It must have it continued from page 3, so whatever the hell was going on must have been really big. Because lettuce.
And so Professor Nugent takes his class up into the woods to go track down Bigfoot. And they kind of wander through the woods. They go meet this guy who's living on the lake and says, hey man, can you tell us some legends? They go into town. They talk to the townsfolk. They say, oh, you need to go talk to Crazy Wanda up in the hills. She's seen this stuff. And so they go up into the hills and go see Crazy Wanda. Along the way, the professor tells stories about Bigfoot. This is where I kind of got the vibe that this movie is an awful lot like Don't Go Into the Woods Alone.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely feels like that.
Because you've got these little vignettes of the biker who goes and up into the woods and pulls off the road, takes a leak, and gets killed by Bigfoot. Or you've got the Girl Scouts getting killed by Bigfoot. They go find Crazy Wanda, who's this hermit living up in the woods. And she doesn't talk. She only likes candy. She's super traumatized. And the professor, who apparently has hypnotism as a hobby, hypnotizes her into a flashback where she was Her father was an abusive prick. Very religious, very abusive. He was like, "I will beat the demons out of you," as he was whapping her with a belt. She goes out into the woods and then gets raped by fucking Bigfoot.
And her dad watches.
And does nothing. That
Yeah.
bastard.
He says, "God, why have you inflicted this upon me?" It's like, why don't you fucking do something? You've got a gun. It's Bigfoot. Shoot the fucking monster.
He does eventually shoot Bigfoot, but after the daughter has been totally raped.
She goes and 9 months later gives birth to baby deformed Bigfoot. Daddy goes and kills the baby, which twigs Wanda out. And Wanda manages to lock him into the barn and then set the barn on fire. The anthropologist and his team, they go and dig up baby Bigfoot because they need proof of, what the hell went on. That, of course, twigs Bigfoot out, who comes running in and just starts busting the place up. He just starts ripping the bars off the Wanda's house. The guys in there are freaking out, and they're like trying to do the Night of the Living Dead, holding the door shut, and the arms are busting through. And eventually just Bigfoot gets in, and this is where the movie flies off the fucking rails.
It goes up to 11.
The last 20 minutes of the thing is fucking insane because Bigfoot's just thrashing people around and like smashes a dude through the window and like slams his head on the shard of glass and just cuts his neck.
Drags a guy over a saw, cuts open his belly, rips out his guts, and starts beating people with his guts.
And then grabs the poor anthropologist and slams his face on the stove and just sears the fuck out of his face. Oh my God!
There's even a handy pitchfork death, which I actually, I was like, oh, there's got to be a pitchfork in here somewhere. There was.
So you gotta admit, the movie gives you exactly what you're looking in a horror flick.
Oh yeah.
Tons and tons of fucking gore. Lots of violence.
It's just sick.
Oh my God, this is like the worst Bigfoot makeup ever.
I was equating him to a Wookiee with mange.
The most Iggy Pop looking Sasquatch I have ever seen in my life. This is like Iggy Pop's genetic missing link half brother.
But I will admit they did do some really good facial expressions when you did finally get the face shots on him. He's like, "Rah!"
I suppose that's the benefit of not burying your actor under a bunch of prosthetics, is that he can act.
At least it's not on, say, the sub-bargain basement level of, like, Shriek of the Mutilated, which is a thing in and of itself.
So the Bigfoot's not quite as good looking as it was in, like, the $6 Million Man, but it doesn't look terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
The makeup is
okay.
very poorly done, but you have to admit, you got to give him a few points for originality.
What was your favorite death?
The biker.
God damn it. I was just going to say that.
The biker getting his penis ripped off was fucking amazing.
Sleeping bag.
Oh my God, I forgot about the sleeping bag.
The
Holy
sleeping bag.
crap.
Yeah, where my favorite death in the movie has to be the Girl Scouts. Where Bigfoot takes two Girl Scouts, grabs their wrists, and makes them stab each other with their fucking knives. So fucking savage.
Plus, that's the first time you get to really see his face really well.
Yeah.
And that is a
for
very
several seconds.
original death. I've never seen that particular style.
Well, that and it shows
before.
ingenuity. I mean, it shows
Yeah.
Bigfoot isn't just, somebody that wanders around and kills people. No, he's using strategy here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As far as the gore goes, did you like it?
Oh yeah, I mean, some of it was bad, like the guy that got killed on top of the van. He's
Where it's all dripping down?
Yeah, it looks like syrup, not like blood, and he's just like for like a minute, for like a full minute on and off.
And the poor woman's sitting there screaming, and apparently she just dies from like fright.
But like you said, it was like more like an orgasm, like death from fright or something, a frightgasm.
Yeah, death by orgasm. I don't know.
Oh my God.
The screams she was
It's
making
the
were
orgasm.
very adult movie-esque.
Yeah.
Oh, I will have to say another thing regarding the sleeping bag death is the final scenes of where the guy's been impaled on the stick and he's hanging upside down from the sleeping bag and the blood is dripping all over him. He's getting the fake blood in his nose and the guy's not moving a muscle. That takes dedication right there.
That is pure dedication.
Yeah, that is good acting there.
Yeah, I thought the prosthetic work looked great. There was this one scene where the woodsman gets the Bigfoot grabs his axe and then slams it into his shoulder, and the dude falls over dead. And you see this super close up on the guy's shoulder. Now, normally when you do something like that, when you do a close up of prosthetics, it betrays the nature of the work. You can clearly see that it's latex. It looks pretty good here. I mean, you don't see where the blood's coming from. It looks natural. So the prosthetic work for what they had to work with was pretty solid.
And another thing that I liked about the woodsman death was the bit where he's cutting wood and he sinks his axe into the log, and then he turns away and does something for a moment, turns back, axe is gone, and you see his face briefly, and you have this oh shit moment, and then the axe gets him.
Now this movie is full of oh shit moments, because I mean the first time anybody reacts to the Bigfoot is the fisherman, but then after the professor starts explaining things to the doctors in the psychiatry ward where he's being kept. It starts off with some Super 8. He gets these students into his class, starts up a projector, and it's Super 8 footage of this mother and her daughter. The father is behind the camera, and they're waving, and then their faces subtly change, and suddenly they're not waving anymore, and they have this look of sheer terror, plastic, like what the fuck?
For a second, I was thinking, wait a minute, are we going to go like into Cannibal Holocaust territory? Is this going to be found footage?
And then the camera moves, and you see the shadow. And it's like.
I gotta give the movie this. In addition to the well done prosthetic work, it is kind of artsy. Mm-hmm. It does have an ambitious goal. It does try and strive to be artistic. Like when the fisherman gets his arm ripped off and he falls over dead, and you kind of see this close up on the stump, and the blood starts spurting out, and it kind of flows into a foot, which then you throw the main credit on. It's like, hey, that was pretty well done. Or like the when they're hypnotizing Wanda in the cabin, where the lighting is really kind of, it's just one lamp over here, and it's just kind of throwing shadows on the anthropologist's face. That was really well done. So there were moments of, hey, you know what you're doing, director.
Also, a lot of the scenery footage was well done and well shot. It's kind of too bad this was such a bad print, but oh well.
I guess apparently the only surviving copy they have is like a 1-inch master on videotape. So there are no negatives. This is the best we're ever going to get, which is a damn shame.
Oh, and the music.
Oh,
you guys want to talk about the music?
Oh yeah, there's some good tunes in here.
Well, there's when they're walking around in town, there's that kind of 70s sitcom bouncy light music. Then they're up in the woods, and it kind of has that echoey, ominous sort of sounding.
Yeah.
And then when they're in the cabin, it has that weird theremin sound.
Yeah.
So it definitely has these weird stages. It's well done. I don't necessarily think I like it, most of it, but it is well done.
And it is a very typically 70s movie. I mean, plaid flannel and flares abound. The men are very rugged, outdoorsy, brawny men, for the most part.
Yes, we equated it to the brawny man on the towels.
Yeah,
it looked exactly like that.
Oh yeah,
they had all porn stashes and big hair.
Oh yeah, you're expecting them to get out of a Ford truck, parked on a bunch of logs, with trees in the background on a hill,
The sheriff or the sheriff's deputy is smoking cigarillos,
He was part of the movie I didn't like. If I have a complaint about the movie, it would have been, I wish they could have tightened it up a little bit. And they have in the middle this weird Satanist Bigfoot worshipping plot. And it doesn't do anything. It doesn't go anywhere. It just kind of is there. And if they had removed that, if they removed the sheriff and tightened it up a little bit, I think it would have been a stronger flick.
Also, there was a little bit of a subplot that was going on about somebody being in the guy by the lake's house.
It was the sheriff.
It was the sheriff. That we
Obviously,
figured that out later.
Because he was smoking the same cigarillos found that the one guy the one student who disappeared found in the ashtray in the man's house. So clearly they were there. He was probably trying to warn this guy not to talk to anybody. You know, because the kids were asking questions, they were going around, you know, trying to find stuff out, and you know how that ruffles people's feathers. And one thing I seized on, I wonder if Night of the Demon isn't about the Bigfoot, but about the doctor and his students. Because when you notice, anytime they're anywhere near people, they get agitated. These guys fire off a gun while that ceremony in the woods is going off, scaring all the people. They run away. You know, they dig up a Bigfoot's, child's grave. And people just generally scream and have a bad time around them, kind of the way people would react to something evil. But they don't consider Bigfoot evil. Bigfoot's like, the woodsy protector type of character, drives the people out.
The students are very much assholes because they go and they arrive at the dude in the cabin by the lake's place and says, "Hey, can we talk to you?" No, go away. Well, it's getting too late. Why don't we just set up camp here? It's like you're camping on their fucking front lawn. Mm-hmm. Or a little bit later when they're in Wanda's place and one of them notices, hey, this door has like a padlock on it. It hasn't been open in years. And Wanda freaks out and tries to get between them and the door. And it's like, no, don't go in there. And they're like, grab her. They grab her and grabs a screwdriver and busts the lock off. It's like, you guys are pricks.
They also take her rifle.
Yeah.
Her one piece of protection against, just whatever might come after her. In this case, it just happens to be these people, and when they're in her house, then Bigfoot comes and rips the place up, and murder happens in her house for the first time since, she killed her father, which never would have happened if these students and the teacher hadn't been there.
And I loved this bit. Wanda just kind of walks out and sits in her rocking chair and just starts rocking away while all this chaos is going on around her. She has no fucks to give because she knows Bigfoot is cool with her. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is freaking the fuck out. I loved that.
Yeah, he's the father of a child, so they have this inseparable this bond between them. They lost a child, and so basically Bigfoot is going to keep in his realm. She's going to stay in hers. And the one thing, that obviously the people in the forest were trying to bring forth a demon, and they mentioned a throwaway line about cannibalism.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, like you said, there were threads that didn't go anywhere. So maybe something got cut out. It might have been a longer film.
Yeah, they cut bits out and inserted more gore because the professor talking to his students in the middle of the night kind of had that not on location set, almost kind of like they have a black backdrop and kind of did some flickering light in front of his face. So it's almost like it was disjointed from the rest of the movie. So that might have been a B-roll second unit stuff.
Well, it's just like we were talking about last week, the last movie. How things seem kind of disjointed, like when the characters are talking or doing something, they're isolated in the frame, and they might have inserted violence, in a way that wasn't originally part of the movie. In order to goose things up and increase the runtime.
One of the other things that I would have done is drop the Satanist subplot, and I would have liked to have learned more about Wanda. Focus more on Wanda. She was the most fascinating character of the bunch.
Oh, I would agree.
Everybody else, all the students, the professor, they're pretty homogenous. You don't really get a lot of sense of personality. They're just kind of there. But Wanda, I want to know what the fuck's up with her.
I was fascinated by her.
Yeah,
especially post-hypnosis where she starts talking.
Mm-hmm. And her dad, you said, the dad was the best thing in the movie. He was the strongest actor.
Yeah. I mean, the bit where he's talking and it's just his voice going over the kind of just overlaid on the few shots and everything, and how he's praying or he's cursing his daughter.
Thou hast cursed me with an evil daughter and dispatched a devil into my house. Mercy, O great God Almighty. Save me, thy faithful servant.
And the scene just goes in this way that's kind of like, holy crap, they've just, all the character maybe that had been lacking in the other, actors in this movie has been given to this one actor to put into his character. And it's just like, holy, the man is fire and brimstone, and he's just, off the charts with this shit. I mean, he was like, was he a preacher? I believe he was a preacher.
He was almost kind of like a cult leader preacher thing. Yeah. Very much kind of Southern Baptist, even though the movie takes place in California.
Mm-hmm. The guy has a really amazing voice, too.
Yeah.
It carries, it resonates. You could see why this guy became a preacher.
And he had
he could orate.
He had some really great facial, not facial features, but he could open his eyes and, just like, staring down, lightning bolts at you, to curse you.
Well, that first time that we see him on the porch and he's beating Wanda, I mean, just the look on his face he is so passionate, doing the will of God, beating the demons out of her sinful daughter.
Lying bitch. Stinking, lying whore. I bring you to the Lord. This is the thanks I give.
That was really powerful shit.
On the one hand, you're thinking, man, this guy's a total asshole because he's beating his daughter. But on the other hand, his conviction is so strong and compelling that he believes he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's much like Piper Laurie's character from Carrie.
Oh,
How she
definitely.
completely was just dominating and abusing and, terrorizing her daughter, in the name of Christ because she thought she was unclean, the dirty pillows, and all that stuff. And I'm like, holy crap, this is insane. And they're just giving it to us, to us here. I mean, they were injecting a lot of, some needed exposition, and some needed action where sometimes kind of just slowed down.
Yeah.
I will give the movie this. It did move along at a pretty decent pace. At no point, even between the killings, at no point was I bored.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't lag at all. The pacing was well done. Oh, another character I liked, minor character, but I liked the Herb, the proprietor of the store.
Yeah.
He was actually pretty good, especially for a minor throwaway role.
I actually kind of liked all the townspeople, like the school marm. I liked her. Herb was pretty cool.
The kid that the blonde woman was talking to.
Yeah, no, the mechanic, they were all pretty solid, colorful characters. I mean, they were in the movie for 45 seconds.
So the beginning and the end, the first shot with the professor, Nugent. Yeah, I didn't even know that was him underneath the bandages and stuff when he started talking, mainly because the sound quality on the DVD was shite because of the transfer, and the sound actually picked up about, 25 30 minutes in when I could actually hear what people were saying without having to strain. And so when I found that out later, I was like, oh, that's okay. I thought there was somebody else that got attacked by Bigfoot.
The movie has a very weird Inception flavor about it, where you've got the professor and he's telling a story, so the whole entire movie is a flashback. But then halfway through the movie, they start telling these stories about flashbacks, and then they get to Wanda's and they have a flashback and the flashback and the flashback. So yeah, there is a little weird disjointed. I can see why you wouldn't necessarily make the connection of the guy who's bandaged up, because you can only see that much of his face.
Yeah.
I can see why you wouldn't make the connection between that's him and he's the professor.
Initially, when they showed the students walking into the room to watch the Super 8, I thought it was a police station. I thought it was going to be a room full of cops. Okay, now we're going to go out and we're going to get into the backwoods, and you're going to not worry about the local sheriff. We'll send in the FBI, and they always take care of sheriffs and blah, blah, blah.
Well, and the sheriff, he would have been covering things up, too.
He might have been the person moving some of the bodies that disappeared, potentially. Maybe burying people.
So yeah, that could have been an interesting subplot where the sheriff is corrupt, and because he's obviously in on the cult, because you see him run away from the cult when they fired the gun into the air. So he's obviously part of the cult, so he could have been deflecting the out-of-area cops. He could have been intimidating the folks, and Mr. Cooper, the guy by the lake, could have been like, okay, I'm going to do this on the sly so that, we can get help.
And the sheriff finds out, goes and has a chat with him, and then he's a little scared afterwards.
And Wanda's the person they were trying to get to have sex with this guy to give birth to a demon at night when Nugent and one of the students showed up and stopped it because Nugent thought she was being raped. And clearly that apparently wasn't the case. She was a willing sacrifice, or maybe she was about to be raped and couldn't do anything about it.
So one more pass of the script, and I think this could have been a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely.
But it makes me wonder if there was anything cut out, what was the actual demon angle? I mean, what with them trying? Because it seems like almost like two different movies, or a movie and a half. Like a movie and then the sequel, put together in the same script.
I've seen this sort of idea before.
I think the demon angle is coming from just sensationalism for the title. Hey, what are we going to call it? we'll call it Night of the Demon because demons sell, and because in the late 70s, after The Exorcist, demons were in. So I think that's kind of where that comes in, because there's absolutely no demonology in this whatsoever.
Yeah, this was like 1.5 movies, where it was basically the situation where you have possibly a movie and a sequel idea put into one thing. So you've got this whole thing about Bigfoot, but then you've got this thing about them trying to have Wanda birth this demon by having sex with some guy who had a headdress of some kind on, and you couldn't see his face. The sheriff was there, and of course, like you said, that never went anyplace. And it makes me wonder, with her father basically saying she's unclean, and there's pictures of Mary and other virgins and saints and stuff in her mother's room, and telling her, telling Wanda she can't be in there. And then she gets raped by Bigfoot and gives birth to, the Bigfoot, half-breed. Maybe Wanda's father considered this kind of a demonic, thing, and that had some kind of resonance with the other people.
So do we have anything else left to say about Bigfoot?
No, I think that pretty much says it all. Or at least I have.
All right, I think we're done. Was it nasty?
I wouldn't put it on the final list, but it does have a lot of sickness in it.
I can see why this would tweak some of the blue hairs, because there is a fuck ton of gore in this thing. There's, I mean, that dude gets his cock ripped off.
Yeah, and they show it, too.
And they show it. I mean, so you get a weenie. I mean, there's nudity. There's blasphemy later on down the road.
Definitely pushes, I think, all the right buttons to get put on the list.
Yeah. I would say this is definitely a nasty film.
So, the final word on the list?
I suppose I have to give it a yes then.
On the list?
I'd put it on the list.
All right, on the list. Boy, that's...
Right. It's guilt.
It's guilt.
Clear across the board.
Did you like Night of the Beast?
I loved it. It hit all the right marks with me.
I thought it was great. Very enjoyable.
Let's be absolutely clear that on a production level, this is Z-grade stuff. But it is hugely entertaining. I love the fuck out of this movie.
This is a bad movie by any definition, but it's fun bad.
This movie would make an amazing midnight movie.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
All right, there you go. Final word. We love it.
The refreshment stand will remain open for a short time. Still plenty of time to get a snack or cold drink.
And there we go. That was Night of the Demon, the best movie featuring Bigfoot rape you'll see all year long. I guarantee it. Please check back again next week when we take a look at Nightmare in a Damaged Brain, aka just nightmares here in the States. In the meantime, please, if you sick fuckers want to drop us an email, we'd love to hear from you. The email address is thevideonastyproject@gmail.com. And, well, take care of yourselves until then. Bye-bye.